This is Francisco from Cemetarian. You're listening to Misery Point Radio.
Welcome back, you loyal bastards. Thanks for joining me again on Misery Point Radio. Let me tell you, the fact that you're here with me right now is absolutely blowing my mind, and I really do appreciate y'all. Contrary to popular belief, I didn't disappear into the wasteland. I just had to take some time off to plan some of the epic new things I've got in store for you all over the next couple of months. Things I've been saying I was going to do for a long time now, and it looks like this is the year it's actually going to happen. So thank you very much for your patience. I promise I'll make it worth your while. That being said, let's get back to business. What do you say? Today's guest is Francisco Pulido, guitarist and riff defiler for Texas-based death metal outfit Cemetarian, a band that I've only recently been introduced to, and needless to say, a band I'm already a huge fan of. You see, as much as I'm a fan of all the epic new metal that continues to come out from all over the world, I still have this massive hard-on for that old-school death metal sound, that raw brutality that brings me back to the late 80s and early 90s when I was discovering all this evil ear candy for the first time. And Cemetarian successfully bridges that gap between the old and new school with a distinctive sound and a relentless attitude. So I was more than stoked when Francisco agreed to come on the show and defile himself even further by hanging out with me and talking all things Cemetarian. He was cool enough to offer the details on the band's history, their concept, the success of their debut demo Tomb of Morbid Stench, and all the cool shit they've got in the works right now. So I am really excited to kick off this new year with a new band and some new friends. Special shout out to bassist Charles Sepulveda for hooking this up. I appreciate you taking the time to share the music and help set this whole thing in motion. So put down that embalming fluid, pull your pants back up, and get ready for a modern dose of brutality. Check it out. Hey, Francisco, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a cool death metal pose. Rah! We need to get the visuals going on there. So, I'm excited actually to talk to you about this band. I've only recently become familiar with you guys, and everything I've heard so far, just a few songs out there and the few video clips I've seen, I like your sound. It's different. It kind of harkens back to the old school, has a little bit of a modern vibe to it, but I think it's standing apart for me because the sound of it is just, it's not the same as all the stuff that I feel like gets rehashed these days in the genre. And, I'm a big fan of death metal and really all the subgenres of metal, but there's something about your sound that I can't quite identify that makes it just that much more unique, kind of than the average band that's out there. So yeah, props to you guys for doing something a little different these days.
Oh, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I've been into death metal since kind of the beginning, death metal days. So, never really did anything band wise with death metal. So that's kind of where we kind of lie, just in the late 80s, kind of early 90s, US, Mexico, all the pretty much worldwide death metal stuff that I was into, the demo days and, real early days of death metal, So I think, when we recorded those 3 tracks, it was kind of like, or actually it was 4. We were just doing it just to kind of have something for us to listen to. Matt, the drummer, he's in another project with me called Thy Feeble Savior, which is more black metal oriented.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna mention that I came across that as well as I was doing my homework, and I was like, okay, cool. There's some black metal roots with the two of you, and then you just wanted to take another project to a different level.
Yeah, we were like practicing. Well, I say practice because we don't really practice with Thy Feeble Savior. We kind of get together and kind of record, and that's it. But he's like, hey, let's try some death metal stuff. He said, can you write something? I said, yeah. So I came up with a couple songs, and then we got and kind of built from there. Just early on, I was just because I love like the old Mexican death metal scene, like Cenotaph and Shub Niggurath and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, let's try to let's try to kind of go back to writing stuff like that. And, it's kind of, we're not doing anything really original, but I try to write stuff that, is influenced by all those older bands, but still kind of not be a, blatant ripoff, because you see a lot of bands where I hear a lot of bands with like, oh, okay, that band sounds exactly like so-and-so. And that's it. And everybody that mentions a certain band, they only mention that one band that they sound like. So I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to, like, somebody says, hey, you guys remind me of so-and-so, and somebody else says, hey, you can remind me of a totally different band. That's kind of what I like. I don't want to be pinpointed to, hey, they're a both are a clone or something. You know what I mean? So we just play. I just write stuff that kind of I want to hear. That takes me back to whenever, like I said, I was 14, 15 years old, first getting into this, 30 something years ago or whatever. So,
yeah, it's hard, man, because, with so many bands out there and so much time has gone by, at some point, everything is derivative of something else to a point. It's really hard to be original, but it's funny that you mentioned that, people will have kind of their interpretation of what they think you sound like, and it's almost never what you think you sound like. I run into that all the time. I was talking to Charles, and I'd kind of mentioned that, wow, the first thing that popped into my mind was it reminded me of some of the old Swedish stuff from the early 90s and stuff, Grave and Dismember. That was the vibe that I got. And he was like, "Oh wow, yeah, it's that. I don't think I've heard that before." So yeah, it's just funny how people just get reminded, and I think it's because of what you're familiar with. Like if you're influenced by a certain band, but the people that hear it don't know of those bands as well, they can only refer it to what they're familiar with, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think a lot of that, like Swedish thing, I like when I recorded my guitars, I didn't use like any pedals or anything like that, because there's this whole in tune kind of sound, which was totally unintentional. I just plugged into my Marshall and just kind of turned it up all the way, and that's what it turned out. That's how it turned out, right? So I kind of, I'll be honest with you, I kind of almost cringe at when, hey, it's kind of that tone. I'm like, that's not what I was going for, right? But, I guess when you turn something up eventually, or turn it up as loud as it'll go, it kind of ends up having that sound kind of. But on the new stuff, I made kind of a concerted effort to maybe not have that type of tone, just for personal preference.
Sure. Well, keep in mind there's other factors involved too. For instance, if it's mic'd and who's recording it, what ultimately how it's getting EQ'd and stuff like that. So I guess we'll kind of dig into that for a minute then. And so you guys, you kind of came out swinging. I mean, you really hadn't been a band for that long, and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck it, we're going to make this demo, right? Which I also like the fact that you said you're making a demo, because nobody really uses that word anymore. Everybody's like, I'm just making an EP, I'm like, you guys are, I'm doing a fucking demo, and you're like, you're doing a true Garage Days kind of a style, right? Where you've got, you guys recorded this more or less in your rehearsal space. You had a buddy come over, right? And he kind of recorded it for you, and you did it in a couple of stages, but really, it's as real of a recording as you're going to get these days. So I thought that was really cool. How was that process recording this for you guys?
Our friend Brandon, he has like a mobile kind of tracking studio. He actually recorded going back to Thy Feeble Savior, he recorded our album for us in the same room, because and going back to you mentioned demos, like I said, growing up, every band started off with a demo, and then they, maybe had a 7-inch come out and then had an album. So that's what I know. That's all I know. It's like, we can't start off and have an album already, right? We got to kind of work our way up to even now being, almost 46 years old, I just, first thing I want to do is put out a demo and kind of see where it goes. I don't want to just, okay, here's our album or whatever. But anyhow, so in our practice room, our friend Brandon, he helped us out a lot. He just shows up. Like I said, he has that mobile tracking studio, and we did everything in there except the vocals. We didn't do the vocals; those were tracked at his house. but we just set up one day. He mic'd everything up, and we kind of knocked out all the. I think the drums and the instruments were pretty much done that day, just in one day. Uh, it was just 4 tracks, like I said, but you know, I kind of had to. I guess I did 2 tracks, 2 guitar tracks, and then a bass track in that day. And Matt did all his drum tracks. But so it went okay. I mean, we like I said, it wasn't when we started. We didn't have any. All we wanted to do was put out a demo and and that was it. There was no intention of, hey, I'm gonna, you know, I don't know if kids know anymore about, hey, I'm gonna put a demo out and shop it to labels or send it to people. You know what I mean? You know, so I didn't even have that in mind. We were just like, hey, let's record something because we like this style of music, and that's what we ended up doing. But and then Daniel, which to me, I think that's kind of what separates us a lot, was Daniel's vocals from a lot of bands, because we've gotten a lot of, like, you know, feedback on, wow, these vocals, you know, they sound like nothing else. And yeah, and Daniel's same age as I am. We kind of grew up on the same stuff, but he used to sing in another band with Matt called Blaspherian. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but another death metal band. But anyhow, he ended up doing the vocals, and then we had our friend Carlos. He did all like the dives and the guitar dives and leads and noises and stuff like that for us. So
he was your Rick Ross.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because, you know, when Matt and I talked to him about, hey, what do we want? This is what we want. I said, just do some old Rick Ross kind of dive bombs and stuff like that. You know, like I said, we're not trying to, you know, do anything, you know, new or anything like that, but we still want to kind of not like I said, not be pigeonholed into a certain type of sound or whatever, but we use all kinds of influences from different bands and stuff. But that's exactly what it was. Just do some dive bombs and just, we'll see what happens. You know, we had no intention of anything other than that, and that was it.
And so the expectation for you guys was to just get some shit recorded, get it out there in public and circulate it, but it really wasn't with the idea of, as you said, label shopping in mind. That wasn't like priority number 1 or anything.
Not at all. It was just like, hey, Matt had a friend that say, you know, I hope you guys kind of put some copies out there. And it started off with some friends of ours from Texas, South Texas. It's like, hey, you know, we're going to restart a label. We'll go ahead and, you know, can our first release back be your tape? Yeah, sure, why not? So they helped us put a tape out, and somehow, for some reason, they went away. They got sold really quickly. People were just like, hey, you know, I'll take one. I want one. And then next thing you know, I got other labels. Hey, can I release this, you know, in my label here? And there's our friend Pesh from Italy. He runs a label called Unholy Domain. And he's like, hey, can I release this in Europe for you guys? Yeah, okay, why not? You know, you're going to pay for it. Go ahead. What do I care, you know? So next thing you know, it just started growing. And then I had a label said, hey, can I put it out on 7-inch for you guys? So it's basically, and CD. So it's on tape, CD, and 7-inch, a demo. And all in all, I think we sold like probably around 1,100 copies of that demo, which...
That's pretty legit, dude.
Yeah. Like I said, our intention was just, hey, let's just put it out. And the next thing you know, people are like, hey, this is pretty good. And it kind of went from there, and it kind of surprised us at first, because we're like, you know, I mean, the tape is good. We like it, but we just didn't expect it. People would be wanting to release it on every possible format, you know, so.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty killer. And I think right now is a perfect time for us to check out one of those songs. So here it is from Cemetarian off Tomb of Morbid Stench. This one's called Expulsed from the Netherworld. Yeah, it was crazy. I thought, the first thing I noticed was like, as I was kind of going back, I'm like, these motherfuckers released this on cassette, in 2019, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that there was different variations, for instance, like green lettering and red
Yes.
lettering and white lettering. And, we're getting back, definitely now we're getting back into the style of the 80s. And I assume that that's just regionally each kind of had their own look. Is that kind of what that was all about?
Yeah, just kind of differentiate each release, and with the way our postal service is now, it's really expensive for me to send a tape to Europe or anywhere overseas now.
No, I send shirts to the UK all the time, and it costs me like $20 to send a T-shirt.
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
UK.
So nowadays, that's why a lot of people are like, "Hey, a lot of bands I've noticed are like, hey, well, we have a European version of it. That way, the people in Europe, they may want to get it. It's a lot cheaper for them to get." So that's kind of the way things are going now, just because of the postage rate. So, if we would have had things would have been different, we could have had one label do everything. But then again, it's kind of cool that other people were interested in it and wanted to spend money on our stuff. So go ahead.
No, it's awesome. I mean, clearly it sold well, and I think it's cool that you were kind of approached by others. Hey, let us do this for you, rather than you pounding your face into the pavement saying, "Please, somebody do something with this." That's pretty rare. That's pretty unique. I mean, it shows that there's some faith, and clearly you're able to move units. You even got vinyl pressed, which was awesome. A couple of different vinyl pressings, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, there was a label. Oh God, Don Breed Records. He emailed me. He said, "Hey, you guys, I'd like to put it on a 7-inch." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." That's always been my favorite format from way back. Just quick 7-inch. Like, yeah, sure, why not? So he released that and did an awesome job on it. And then there's also a CD, which our friend from Mexico, Carlos, from Clandestine Productions, he did a CD. And the difference on the CD is it has an extra track that's like the tape, and the 7-inch doesn't. Just so we can give somebody something else, other than just the same 3 songs. And it worked out cool. All the labels did an awesome job on all the releases. So, we're happy with all of them. And like I said, I still can't believe, there's over 1,000 copies of that tape out there, so what are you going to,
Yeah. Is it even, can you still get it? Can people still order it from you, or is it pretty much wiped clean at this point?
Me, no. I don't have any copies. I don't think it's available. I may have seen somebody may have had a tape or 2 somewhere, but I can't remember. But no, probably not. But and I've actually, believe it or not, I've been asked, hey, can we do so many more copies of it? I'm like, no, not anymore. I think 1,100 copies or whatever is enough for now.
Yeah.
So
you fuckers are going to have to scalp it or something. So.
Yeah, no, yeah. So we're moving on to new stuff. So.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So speaking of which, Tomb of Morbid Stench, which is a really cool name. I assume it was kind of inspired by your rehearsal room. That's probably what it's like about this point, right?
That's funny, but actually, I just I came up. Well, I didn't come up with the title. There's just lyric. It's from a lyric from an old Texas band called Necrovore. I put out a demo, like just legendary demo from '87, and just reading through the lyrics, that came across Tomb of Morbid Stench. I'm like, hey, that sounds pretty cool, So that's exactly where I got it from. Like I said, like I said, we didn't really put too much thought into any of this, because, like I keep saying, we were just doing it just for us. But I did like the title, and I thought that it sounded cool. So
yeah, and Dan did your artwork, right?
Yeah, Daniel's awesome, man. He's actually, I think I mentioned it to you before in our chats, that he's more known for his artwork than anything, because he's been doing it for a long time, and he's done stuff from all kinds of bands. Now, he actually did a T-shirt artwork for Agnostic Front, the old New York hardcore band, which is. It just kind of blew my mind when he told me that he got to do that. So he recently did you're probably around my age or probably older, but you remember Garbage Pail Kids? You remember the Garbage? Well, he was actually fortunate enough and lucky enough to do one here recently. They picked like 10 to 15 artists to kind of recreate an old Garbage Pail Kid. And he did one. He did I think it was called JDK or something like that. But he got to do that and was involved in that. So, like I said, Daniel's artwork it's out there everywhere. He's awesome, and I think I was just as excited that he got to do the Garbage Pail Kids thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, if anybody wants to look up Daniel's artwork, he's like on Instagram. His name is Sawblade. So he's under Sawblade. So
yeah,
just look
and
him
he has
up,
like 20 million followers. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's got a pretty good following, man, and it's awesome because he's been able to kind of lately, talking to him, he's been able to just kind of live off doing his art, which. It's amazing.
That's a dream right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
hey, props to you, Dan, brother. Keep doing the good stuff. That's awesome. So we're going to talk about the new material coming up here on the next segment. But before we dig into that, let's check out one more song off the demo. So here is Malformed Deity.
Cross
So moving on then, so you got this kick-ass demo, it's doing well, you guys are doing shit, and now you're back in the studio working on a couple of splits, right?
Correct. Yeah. Here, I guess it's been a little over a month. We went and started tracking for a split LP and a split 7-inch with two really cool like death metal bands. One is Absconder from Illinois, which probably one of my favorite like current. I'd say current. I think Brad started the band like in 2012, but to me, it's one of those bands that keeps getting better, which is a rarity. And with most bands, their stuff keeps getting better. And Brad was actually in a band back in the early '90s called Morgue. I don't know if you remember Morgue from Illinois, but that's kind of where I kind of remember Brad from. So, but we hooked up online and all that. But Absconder rules, and the other one is Leprophiliac, which is from Spain, which is another old friend of mine. Dopey. He was in a band, many bands, but I first got in contact with him probably in like 95, 96 or something like that. And so his this kind of like a new project he does with an old friend of his, and it's really cool. It's like Autopsy mixed with like old Finnish death metal, and I don't know. It's really good, really catchy stuff. So I just like doing stuff with friends of mine, so like-minded individuals that, just want to play heavy stuff. And somebody wanted to release it. Like I said, hey, somebody wants to put it out, go ahead. So.
And with a family-friendly name like Leprophiliac, I mean, you could really only expect G-rated content for sure.
Absolutely.
I guess that's cool though that so you guys are doing these splits, and I guess the question would be, or maybe it's more than one question, but are you going to do separate songs for each split? Right? Is it a couple of songs for this and a couple of songs for that?
The split with Absconder is just a 7-inch, so each band will have one song.
One song, okay.
And we recorded, and then the split with Leprophiliac is 5 songs. Yeah, 5 songs. So we recorded 6 new songs for both of those splits. So so far it sounds really, really good. Pleased with it, but at this point we still have to do leads and vocals, and then all the other mixing and whatnot that goes with it. But
and are you doing the same style of recording, right? Are you recording it at your rehearsal space, or is this a whole different kind of a setup?
No, we actually went to a guy kind of outside of Houston, which kind of where I don't live in Houston, but we're kind of based out of Houston, I guess you could say. But
sure,
his name is Mike. Excuse me, and he's got a studio. We're at his studio recording it. Yeah, Mike rules. He's recorded a lot of stuff around here. I don't know if you're familiar with Imprecation from Houston.
Not
he
familiar,
recorded
no.
them. Yeah, they're like probably one of the oldest like death metal bands from Houston. They started like back in 91-ish. I used to go see them when I was in high school. So, and they're still around to this,
That's
today.
epic.
So, but anyhow, studio, we're actually in a different studio with Mike. We actually had asked Brandon, the guy that recorded the demo, but he moved away, and he wasn't able to do it. But we're happy. Mike's doing a hell of a job. He gets good sounds, good tones. So it's been cool working with Mike.
Awesome. So you recorded 6 new songs, which leads me to the question of, is there other material that's not tied to a split? Why do 2 splits and use up new material on this as opposed to another Cemetarian, EP or album or whatever the case may be?
It kind of just happened. Like I said, my way of thinking is, hey, let's do a demo and then we'll do a 7-inch and then see what happens from there. We'll go maybe a couple 7-inches or a split. But I've always liked the format of split albums. Like, like I said, back in the old days, there was a lot of classic split LPs, and I always thought that was a cool idea where you could just like I said, and they're friends of ours. Uh, so it kind of just turned out that way. Hey, we got these songs. Let's do these 6 songs, and it worked out fine that we were able to use it for a split 7-inch and a split album. But me, I'm constantly writing because I wrote all the songs on the demo. I wrote I'd say the riffs. I wrote all the riffs on the new stuff too. Uh, so I'm always writing all the time. So right now, even now, I think we probably have maybe like 6 or 7 other new songs kind of ready. Our other guitarist Dave, he actually contributed one too. He wrote one here in the past couple of weeks, and we kind of hashed it out, and it sounded pretty cool. Dave's got a little different style than I do, but it worked out, so it sounds cool. So with his song and the ones I've written, I think we probably have like, I'd say 6, 7, 8 maybe new songs already, just for possibly an album,
So no shortage of material.
No, absolutely not. Everybody always jokes with me that, hey, you need to slow down. Let us learn these ones that we already have. But I don't know. Sometimes the riffs just come out. So
yeah.
So
how does the songwriting process work then? I mean, is it you kind of come up with a couple of riffs and then it just gets kind of passed around and everybody adds their own flavor to it?
Well, the way it was, I wrote all the songs up to now. So I'll write all the riffs. I'll sit at home and come up with stuff, and I'll kind of already have it kind of sort of arranged already in my mind with drum parts. And what'll happen is I'll get with Matt, and he and I will kind of get the songs arranged because he and I, if I can take them 2-3 new songs in one day, and we'll have them done. He and I just click for some reason, and he kind of we're kind of on the same page as far as how we want the band to sound and how we want the songs to go and what we don't want in the band, which is also important. You can't just there's certain things kind of like no we can't do that, but he and I work real well together. That's why I was like, oh, hell, I'll go ahead and write a couple more songs because next practice, Matt and I will have them down, have them ready. And then we'll show them to the other guys. We'll have a practice with everybody and just kind of show them what I got. Initially, I take that back. I'll send the guys the riffs that I have and kind of give them a heads up on what I'm working on and ask them what they think about it, But so we'll get together and we'll just kind of hash the songs out. And now that we got Dave, which I haven't mentioned on the demo, it was just me, Matt, Daniel, and then our friend Carlos just helped us out with the leads. But we have Dave on guitar, which he'll be doing all the leads now too. So Dave's like a really good guitar player. He's like way better than I am. I just I have
You're the riff master.
I write riffs, but I just own instruments. I'm not really a musician. I just happen to have a guitar where I can write riffs with. I'm not some badass or anything like that. So I just play to my abilities, and that's it. I don't really try to go any further than that. But Dave adds a lot of he's actually a real good player, and he'll be able to add leads and. He comes up with ideas too for just like adding certain fills or whatever into songs, and which is cool. And I've known Dave for a long time too, so he's been playing. He's got many bands too that he works with, but and then Charles, who I guess. We asked Charles. We did a live show. Hey, you want to play bass with us? He's like, what? So he's like, I don't know if I can do it, but Charles he's actually a guitar player and he's really good. He's really good at it, but he's really, really cool guy, really good guy. And so we asked, hey, you want to try it out? He's like, yeah, sure. So it ended up working out. He's still kind of like, well, I don't know what if I can add anything to the band. I'm like, dude, just don't worry about it. Just sit there, just play, and everything will be fine. So, but now with the lineup we got, I think it's cool because we'll be able to play shows whenever that's possible. So
yeah, whenever that's possible. Yeah, well, your lineup is pretty well rounded out at this point, so that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I guess that is a good call out though. So you're using obviously the time as you can, writing material, preparing, getting
right.
stuff ready, all that, so that when it does open up, what was going on? What happened? Right when all the shit hit the fan and they were canceling all the shows, were you guys in the middle of anything? Did you have plans? Did you have stuff get canceled?
Actually, the weekend before everything here in Texas got canceled, we had our second show, which was Charles's first show.
Right.
And, little did we know, a week later, that everything was going to be shut down. So we played a show, and it did slow everything down because we were kind of rehearsing, more often than we are now, obviously. But and slowed down our practices and being able to get stuff out. And but I mean, it was only our second show, so we haven't really been playing many shows, so it didn't really affect us that much as far as playing shows. Although we did have one show canceled, now that I think about it. But we, like I said, that was the last show, and we played a show. And what I remember about that show, well, it was for Charles's first show, but the next day, Matt and Dave, right after the show, they might have gotten an hour of sleep. They flew to Chicago and went to see Autopsy and Cyanide and all these bands play. And turns out that show was like put out on an album now or whatever. So, but after that, that was it. So I just laughed because we played a show and then they went to Chicago and then that was it, So it sucks, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah, so I guess Charles, you're off the hook for playing shows for a while, so you can chill for chill for a little bit. So what's the post-COVID game plan? Is there one, or are you guys just gonna keep on as you're doing? I notice your merch game is going pretty good right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, we can't play shows, we have nothing new out, so I'm like, I was like, I gotta do something. So it's actually been helping out with studio costs. So selling stuff. But what we want to do is get these two splits out and then start working on an album, which we do have. We do have a label already. We've been approached by several labels, but we kind of decided on one. But I actually emailed the guy today. Hey, can I mention it today? But he hadn't replied back. So,
gotcha.
But it's a very well known underground label that puts out really cool stuff, and I've worked with them before. That's all I'll say about that. But they are going to put out our album. So hopefully, once these splits we're done, like at the studio and mixing and all that, we'll start working on stuff for an album. So and then whenever we can play shows, we're gonna try to play whenever we can, whoever will have us. So but that's kind of what we have in mind for now, So anybody wants us to play, and then just hit me up.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's cool. So you've got some actual, I don't say actual label interest, but a known label who's wanting to work with you. That's pretty cool. But they're not involved with the splits, correct?
No. Actually, yeah, no. I'm glad you mentioned that because the splits are actually being put out by the same label. Excuse me, our friend Clay from Fort Worth here in Texas runs a label called Rescued from Life, and he's released stuff of our other bands before, especially Dave. Dave is in a pretty well-known like grindcore band called PLF, who've played all over the world from Russia to you name it. So he's released their stuff over the years, and we've all known him for quite a long time. So he was like, yeah, I'll put your guys' stuff out. I'm like, well, we have two splits. Yeah, okay, I'll do both of them. I was like, all right, cool, So he actually released that band Leprophiliac. He released their debut album, which it's actually done real well for him, so that's pretty cool. So he was like excited and psyched to release our stuff as well. So you
That's
know,
awesome.
yeah.
So where are we at status wise with those two? Are these gonna be released anytime here soon?
Yeah, like I said, our part of it, we still have to do vocals and leads and work on mixes and mastering and all that. But hopefully, maybe summertime, early summertime, maybe. I hope.
Okay.
So, but and now that I'm thinking about it, I was thinking about this earlier. Since the same label's doing both, maybe we'll just have them do the 7-inch first, and then kind of wait a little while and do the album, just to kind of that way we don't like bombard everybody with like 2 releases at one time. You know what I mean? So just kind of let one of them kind of be on its own and put it out there. And so maybe early summer probably.
So it's not too far off in the
No.
not so dear future there, but well, that's awesome, brother. It sounds like things are going well. You got some plans, you got some label interest, shows. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen with shows? But the key is that you're writing material, you're selling merch, you're helping to pay the studio costs, and you guys are engaging your fans quite a bit. I mean, I see quite a bit of movement on your page, which is really cool. So if people want to find out kind of more about Cemetarian, about the band, how do they find you? Where do they follow you? Give us all the details on how we can stalk you online.
Uh, well, I mean, there's, the social media sites, Instagram, it's a Cemetarian TX. And then on Facebook, we have a Facebook page too. You can follow, just search Cemetarian. And I kind of run those pages and just kind of keep everybody up to date on what we're doing. And, because this day and age, it's like everything comes and goes. So in order to kind of let people know we're still here, that's why I'm real active with it, just to kind of so people don't forget, hey, what happened to Cemetarian or whatever. So I kind of bombard people with updates all the time, just to let everybody know. But because there's a lot of flavor of the week stuff nowadays, where there's a band that just comes in and puts out a real great album, and then nowadays it's like people forget about it 2 weeks later, So there's just so much stuff being thrown at you nowadays that you don't get to sit down and enjoy an album like you used to. And I talk about that a lot. You can't sit down with an album for 2 months anymore and kind of, invest all your time in that one album, because in a week there's tons of releases coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, so that's kind of my thinking behind just being engaged with people that show any kind of interest, because, there's not much else to do. So.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, keep them captive, right? Just keep pounding away. So, was there anything else that we needed to cover before I let you get back to your evening?
I mean, no, I think we kind of covered it all. We have, like I said, working on splits. Hopefully they come out. I'm hoping it's summertime, right? But no, not really. Just say, hey, check us out if you like old death metal from like late 80s, early 90s. Check us out. Like I said, I think with Daniel's vocals we kind of do stand out, but we try to write catchy stuff, and I think so far it's been all right. We don't want to just be heavy for the sake of being heavy. You want to write songs that's or stay in your head, after you listen to it. You don't want to just tune low just to sound heavy. There's too much of that going on. So
tune down to A and have your strings flopping around and make a bunch of noise and call it an album.
Yeah. No, there's no riffs behind it. You gotta have a riff. You gotta have some kind of hook. Not just heavy for heavy's sake. So if you're into that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And you guys, take my word for it, because not only is Cemetarian heavy as fuck, there is some really, really, really catchy stuff on there. The drumming is out of control. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
the
that
riffs
rules.
are killer. The vocals are killer. Charles is probably the best bass player on the planet, right? So, yeah. So do yourselves a favor, check these guys out. We're gonna play some songs from you guys here over the course of the show as well.
Awesome.
So, dude, Francisco, thank you very much for hanging out with me today. This has been awesome. Looking forward to checking out the new material as it comes out. Good luck on your epic merch sales and all the cool stuff that you guys have coming down the pike. Looking forward to seeing those hoodies hit the market because those are sick. So thank you, brother. It's been awesome.
Thanks, man.
Well, I'd say that's a kick-ass way to start the new year, am I right? Thanks again to Francisco for coming on. Thanks again to Charles for helping to set this whole thing up. Thanks to Cemetarian for kicking some serious ass. And thanks, of course, to all of you for tuning in, for not forgetting about me, and for giving me some much-needed time off to clear my head and plan for the cool new things that are coming this year. I also wanted to follow up on something that we touched on in the interview. At the time we talked, Francisco had wanted to make an announcement but was unable to do so. So now, I'm excited to share that announcement with you right now that Cemetarian has officially signed with the legendary Hell's Headbangers. Super awesome. Congrats, guys. Well deserved. So we'll close this one out with the third song off the demo, although if you happen to score that elusive CD, you can also get that bonus track. Either way, here's the title track to leave you hungry. Check out Tomb of Morbid Stench. See ya!